I'm Stephanie Jordan. I'm the local food program manager at Sustainable Solano, and I'm also a chef. I had a catering business in Chicago, and we moved here in 2011. And through a series of events looking for kitchens and other things, I stumbled across Sustainable Solano, and so now here we are. And I'm doing some cooking demos. So this demonstration is one of many classes that we will be doing both virtually and live, hopefully, around the county for the next 2 years. And it's part of a specialty crop block program grant that we have from the California Department of Food and Agriculture. So thank you, CDFA, for your support of this program. And the purpose is to raise awareness of specialty crops that are grown here in Solano County by our local farmers. And you might be wondering, what is a specialty crop? So specialty crops are essentially a lot of things that we eat. It's vegetables, it's fruit, it's tree nuts, it's culinary herbs. There's also some nursery products put in there with some flowers. Maybe someday I'll get my hands on some edible flowers that will demonstrate what to do with. But for the most part, it's the edible products, and that's what we're really focusing on through these classes. So if you've attended some of my previous classes and also going forward, you might notice that they are very heavily focused on plant-based items, and we're doing plant-based recipes. Today, we are doing a spring hot and sour soup. Not an entirely traditional version of hot and sour soup. It's a little bit of a variation on a theme. And we'll be using a lot of ingredients that are in season right now. If any of you subscribe to CSA boxes, like Terra Firma or Eat Well Farm, there's a couple more out there. You'll probably be noticing that you're getting lots of peas right now. We've got snap peas and shelling peas and leeks and things like that. So we're going to be focusing today on the peas in this recipe, which are local, as well as some other little special items, which I will explain in a minute. So I'm going to have Allison maybe just show the recipe. This is also on our website, and you can find it through our local food page on our website. So there's a bunch of ingredients here, and then we have the procedure. So I'm just going to kind of follow through these ingredients. They may not be, my list I have here may not be in the same order as what you see there. Although maybe it is. I think I rearranged it for this class just a little bit before the class. So, but it's available if you need to print it out. You can download a printable version from the website and go from there. So, all right, thank you, Allison. You can go back to the view. Thank you. So there's what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through the ingredients and basically get everything rounded up and prepped. And this is a procedure called mise en place. It means to put into place. And this is a very fast-moving soup, which means we don't have to really sit and wait for 20 minutes for it to simmer, and then we do something else, and then we wait for another 15 minutes, and then we do something else. The ingredients kind of go in like one after the other, and so we want to have everything lined up and basically ready to go. So I'm just going to walk through the ingredients, and I will show a little bit of knife skills also as we go. Let me see. I'm going to scoot this over just a tad. All right. Okay. So first on our list is various kinds of oil that you can use in this soup. I have a little bit of peanut oil that I'm kind of looking to get rid of. It's about a tablespoon in there. And then we also have avocado oil, and I'm going to pitch Soul Food Farms fantastic olive oil. They are located up around Pleasance Valley, so kind of between Fairfield and Vacaville here in the county. Alexis is the owner. They produce all their own olive oil, and you can get that through her CSA right now too. So she has a CSA, she has eggs, and then she's also offering some pre-made meals from some local chefs. So for this recipe, I'm not going to use the olive oil, although I did want to point it out. I'm going to use a combo. I don't have much of the peanut oil, so I'm going to use a little bit of the peanut and some avocado. And the reason I like the avocado oil for this is because it's very neutral. It doesn't give a really strong flavor in this soup, and that's what I want. I want it to be very kind of, on the sidelines, because what I really want to come through are the Asian flavors in the soup, like the garlic and the ginger and the sesame oil and the vinegar and all of that stuff. So but I just wanted to kind of let you know, I'm going to pull from these two different things probably when we started. Next on our list is garlic, and you can definitely use basic, regular garlic from a bulb. But what is showing up right now all over the county is green garlic, and it looks like this. So it's kind of this long, crazy thing. It's basically a baby garlic head that's growing, but they pick it early. So the part that's down here at the bottom is going to taste very much like a garlic clove. You can use the entire thing. I find that if you're doing a saute where you have high heat, or if you're doing something with a marinade, that's a good opportunity to incorporate the dark green leafy parts because they're a little bit tougher than the bottom part. So for today, I'm going to just shave off the root on the bottom part, and I want roughly a heaping tablespoon of the garlic. So I just cut off the bulb. I'll keep this for another use. And I want to get this flat on my cutting board, and then I'm going to give it a couple slices this way, and then go across and kind of mince it up and chop it up. About right. So I'm going to just kind of change the position of my hand now on my knife, turn it into like a little fulcrum, and get pieces kind of tiny. And it's up to you. If you want to just do sliced, you can do that too. But I like to have it chopped up. All right, so I'm going to start putting my completed ingredients in a bunch of little bowls and just line it up. Okay, so there's the garlic. Set that over there. All right, ginger root, a pretty familiar ingredient for most of you. The way to peel this is not using a potato peeler, but I usually take a little spoon, like a little teaspoon, and just scrape. And by doing that, it helps you to just get the outer skin off and not peel off the actual root, which is what you want to use in your recipes. So I'm just going to finish peeling this. I kind of started on half of it. This is about a 1-inch piece. Notice I'm using my favorite kitchen gadget, the pastry scraper. It's also called a bench scraper, and it works great for scooping up all these little bits of things. Okay, so there's another tool you could use for the ginger, which I just thought about, which is a microplane. Typically this would be used for grating hard cheeses like a Parmesan cheese, but it also works fine for ginger. So if you wanted to, you could scrape the, whoops, there it goes, hold on. Just flew away from me. The advantage of using the microplane is it will help take out, actually what it does is it doesn't let through the little fibrous hairs that are sometimes in your ginger root. It'll just let the actual ginger through. So you could do this and then start making a ginger that way, or you could just chop it. So I'll do a little bit of both. And again, I want to just make sure I have a flat bottom to my ginger so it doesn't roll around and fly off like it just did. And we're going to turn it and chop. By the way, I'm going to be doing, my next class is going to be focusing on knife skills, and we'll look at a lot of seasonal products that are growing right now and how to cut them, as well as some kitchen equipment. And so that class will be a week from today, same time, 4 o'clock on Friday. I believe it's May 1st. So if you want to learn more about knives and sharpening and knife skills, feel free to tune into that. Okay, that looks about right. I'm going to add this, my other pile of ginger. Okay, so I've got my garlic, my ginger. And next up is the red pepper flakes. So because I'm adding all of these things together, I'm just going to throw my pepper flakes in with my ginger here. So there's a couple different things mentioned on this recipe. One is Aleppo style pepper, and the other is red pepper flakes that you would put like on your pizza. You know, you get them with your pizza at any Italian restaurant. So I don't have Aleppo pepper. It's pretty hard to find. The name comes from Aleppo, the actual city in Syria, which of course has been, you know, war torn, and so it's pretty hard to get it. Although I will mention that there's a local nursery in Vallejo called Grow a Pear. They were selling actual Aleppo pepper plants. They're sold out, but maybe she has some seeds. I'm not sure. The Aleppo pepper tends to be about half the amount of heat as the red pepper flakes, and it has a little bit of a cumin undertone to it. It tends to be maybe a little salty, and it might be a little bit oily, and that's just from the processing of it. They tend to use salt when they dry the pepper out, so it might have a little salt with it. You know, I've probably tasted Aleppo pepper. I lived in Chicago for 10 years in a neighborhood called Andersonville, and it was the Middle Eastern, like, central for Middle Eastern restaurants. So I probably have had it. I just didn't know it at the time. So, so anyway, that's kind of your options for pepper. I'm using the red pepper flakes, and so I just put in 1/4 teaspoon in with my aromatics over here. Okay, so next are the mushrooms. I'm going to be using shiitake mushrooms today, and so they look kind of like this. You know, they have kind of a flat top to them, and typically there's a long stem. The stems tend to be a little bit tough, so I'm going to trim the stems off, although you can use the stems for, you know, flavoring soups and sauces as well. So it's up to you if you want to hang on to them or not. So I have all of the caps basically here in my bowl, and I'm going to just slice these up and put them back here. I had some paper towel in here. Mushrooms have a lot of water. You can brush your mushrooms, or I tend to just wash them, and then have them sit in some paper towel to dry, and then use them. So especially like for something in a soup, they're gonna release a lot of their liquid when they cook, and then I'm gonna let them kind of brown a little bit in the pan. So I don't mind washing them a little bit, but you can also just brush them if you want. You'll notice while I'm cutting here that my left hand over here is kind of like a little crab claw. And the reason for that is as I'm cutting, my blade might run into the knuckles on my left hand, but I'm not going to chop off my fingertips. So it's just a way to slice things up efficiently and quickly, but also safely. Okay, so there's my mushrooms. This was about 3 ounces, and I actually did weigh them out before trimming. So this is another little tool that I would highly recommend. It's just a digital kitchen scale. Very helpful if you're measuring out anything for baked goods, for baking. Then you want to be more precise. Just for fun, I thought I would show it and mention it because I did use it to measure out my mushrooms. So, okay, you can also use cremini mushrooms, which are the same as baby bellas. They're baby portobello mushrooms, so that's also another option if you can't find shiitakes or can't get shiitakes, you know. And of course, regular white button mushrooms would work too. But I really like the flavor of shiitake mushrooms for this type of soup. And the flavor I find between the creminis and the white mushrooms is a little richer on the creminis too. So I'd aim for those 2 options if you can. All right, water will go in, and then also we're going to put some miso in. So I'm using white miso today. It comes in these little tubs. Miso keeps like for months on end in the fridge. This one has a little bit of a little plasticky thing here. So I just keep the plastic sheet on top of the miso. I kind of push it down to try to keep the air from oxidizing the miso too much. And I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of miso in here. And then I'm going to whisk it with some water. And the reason is it just helps it to integrate into the soup a little quicker, so you don't have big globs of miso floating around, trying to get it to dissolve in your soup. Because this soup, you know, the cooking process happens pretty quickly, you want to have the miso distributed in the broth quickly too. Okay. Yeah. And the white miso has more of a delicate flavor. It's not as strong as some other misos out there. I think there's like a red miso. You know, the white one is good for this kind of thing. I would recommend the white miso if you're doing like a salad dressing too, something like that. Okay. We'll just add my water. So that was 2 tablespoons of miso, a couple tablespoons of water. And kind of mash it up with my whisk. and get that ready to go. Okay. So what you should have is kind of like a paste. I don't know if you can see this. I could probably bring it over there a little closer. So I know. So it's kind of like this. You see how it kind of drips. It's kind of like gloppy and drips. So that's what you want to see. You're still going to see bits of the miso, but for the most part, it's going to be integrated with the water. All right. This next 3 ingredients are really helping to build flavor in the soup. And let's see. I'm gonna put them in. Switch some things around here. I'm going to put my garlic and ginger and pepper together because they're going to go into the soup together. That way you can see this. So I've got tamari, which is like a soy sauce. It's a little bit better flavor than soy sauce, in my opinion. It usually has more of a meatier flavor. It's a little deeper, a little more complex. So I recommend using tamari. Also, some soy sauce has wheat, toasted wheat mixed into it in the processing process, and so the tamari often doesn't, although you need to check. So if you are gluten-free, you might want to keep your eye on that. But tamari generally is processed without that wheat. And then I'm using a toasted sesame oil, pretty readily found in international sections of your grocery store. And then also some rice vinegar. So I'm going to put those things together because they all get added at the same time. So we have 1 tablespoon of the tamari. And 2 teaspoons of rice vinegar. This vinegar is unseasoned, which means it doesn't have any extra sugar or salt added. Sometimes you'll find rice vinegar that is seasoned. So you want unseasoned for this recipe, just because we don't really need the extra sugar and salt in here. And then we're going to have 1/2 teaspoon of the sesame oil. Okay. All right, so that little mixture is ready to go. All right, now we're going to talk about, we're moving on to the vegetables now. We have 2 different kinds of peas happening in this recipe. First is snap peas, or sugar snap peas, and they were in my box this week from both farms, actually, Eat Well and Terra Firma. I get both of those. So they look like this. Just looks like your typical pea that you would find, on your plant outside. We want to trim these by taking off the strings that exist on the little edges. So I'm going to pop at the top and just pull. And then I get this little stringy part off, this part over there. And then the rest of this we're going to slice up. These peas, you can eat both the pod and the inside kind of legume part. Okay, now that one, when I tried to string it, the string isn't really coming off, which is fine, which means it's probably not very strong. So I'm not going to worry about that one. This one, I'm getting a string on one side and not the other. So sometimes you get the strings. Okay, this one's coming off. There we go. Okay. All right, so here's the snap peas, and I'm just going to slice these across until I have about a cup worth. I'm going to do a few at a time here. So the thinner you slice these, the quicker they will cook, but it's up to you. You can leave them larger if you want to have kind of a fun presentation. This takes a little longer. You could slice them crosswise, like this, and then you'd see the actual pea in the pod. So it's another option. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to slice away here. And it looks like I'm pretty close to my cup. Let's see where I'm at here. Good. A few more, and then we're good. Okay. That's going to do it. Okay, so that's it for my snap peas. The other peas that we're going to use are shelling peas. And for those, we have to actually take the shells off. So they look very similar to the snap peas. I had a question from somebody in a past class wondering, how do you tell the difference if you're just looking at them? And it's pretty hard to tell the difference just looking at them. The only way I can kind of do it is I take a bite. And if this feels really tough, like I can't bite through it, then it's a shelling pea. So we got to get rid of the pods. So for this, the easiest way that I find to open them is you twist it. So if I twist this, what happens is the seam opens up along the edge, and then I can just pull it open and pop out the little peas inside, okay? So I have a bowl here already done, and I just wanted to show what to do with those. These are the same kinds of peas that you would find in the frozen section when you buy frozen green peas at the grocery store. After you shell them, they are fairly perishable, so this is why you don't just see these sitting around in the fresh section of the grocery store very often. So most of the time they're produced, shelled and then frozen right away. So I'll just do a couple more of these. So twist, open, and then just shove them out with your finger or your thumb. Okay, so those are my shelling peas. It typically takes about a pound of the pods to make a cup of the actual peas. So in this case today, I had about a half a pound, because I think I need, about a half a cup of the actual peas. So you want to have about a half of a pound of the whole pods, and then that'll give you about a half of a cup of peas. Okay. All right. So that's that, and then I'm going to put an egg in at the end, and I'll do that later. I'm going to check in with Gabriella to see if anybody from the Facebook crowd has any questions before we start to cook. I don't know if she can hear me. You out there, Gabriella?
No questions so far.
No questions so far. Okay. No worries. So I'm using an induction burner here. My stove is over there, and we couldn't figure out how to, have me set up my laptop by the stove. So I have an induction burner here, which requires a special pan. I think cast iron pans actually would work on here, but these have it works by magnetizing the bottom, and all the little, I don't know, it's like little atoms or what starts to run around from the magnets that are in the bottom of the pan, and then it heats up. And then the beautiful thing about induction burners is that if I take the pan off and I can touch this, it's not going to burn my hand super bad. It's warm, it'll get hot, but it's not going to be like, a gas or an electric range. So I'm heating up my pan, and I'm going to add my oil. So I think I'm going to try to use up this peanut oil. I had it in the fridge. It's a little bit gelatinous right now, but I think it'll work. It firms up when you put it in the fridge, but I think it's mostly thawed here. Okay. Oh, won't quite let me use all of it. There we go. Okay. So that's going in. And all soups follow a pretty standard procedure in terms of the cooking. So you always want to heat up your oil, and then you want to put in your aromatics and start with a saute, and then typically you add some liquid and maybe your main vegetable or whatever it is you're putting in there. And the point of that is to kind of start building flavors out in your soup. So the other thing is, because I'm using a dried pepper, with my pepper flakes, I want to have some heat, some intense heat from the oil interact with those peppers to really get it to release its oils and release the flavor. So another good reason to use some dried peppers in this recipe. So I want to check my oil. I want to see, every time I take the pan off, it's going to beep at me too. If my oil seems to be running quickly like water, then it's probably time to add my first ingredient. So here we go. It's going to be probably a little noisy for a minute. The sizzling. All right, so I just want to mix this around kind of quickly. This recipe recipe was originally from Bon Appetit, and I kind of rearranged the ingredients, the way that the ingredients were added, because I really want my mushrooms to cook and brown a little bit. I kind of want some of that mushroom flavor built into the base of the soup. So I've got my garlic and ginger here, and as you can see, I'm kind of stirring this constantly because I don't want it to burn. Let me turn my thing down here. I want it to soften, and I want the flavors to start incorporating with the oil, but I don't want, I don't want it to get out of hand here. Okay. All right, then in go the mushrooms. I think we're almost there. So I think, as I mentioned before, mushrooms have a lot of water. So what will happen with these is they're going to start by, they'll start as a saute, but then the mushrooms will release a lot of liquid. And I want that mushroom water to be in my soup. And I also want to let it go a little longer and brown the mushrooms, because that's going to help build some flavor as well. So right now what's happening is the mushrooms have not released liquid yet. They're just still kind of cooking and interacting with the heat. But pretty soon, we will have some browned mushrooms. Okay, adjust my heat. The temperature on this thing's a little funky. It's like I'm working with degrees Fahrenheit, so I think I'm at like medium-high heat here. While this is cooking, I want to talk a little bit about the health benefits of a lot of these ingredients. So the alliums, which is things like onions and the garlic, leeks, shallots, all of that stuff, they are really great for like antioxidants. They're kind of antiviral, and they have something called, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, quercetin, which is very concentrated in onions. And there have been some studies that show it's anti-inflammatory, and it works very well to lower high blood pressure. So that's kind of like a good reason to use onions and different alliums. The mushrooms that are going in have been known for decades, centuries probably, for their immune boosting properties. So it's a really good thing to be doing right now in the midst of all of this COVID-19 stuff. Cook with mushrooms. All right, so I'm going to add the liquid right now. The mushrooms are browning, and I'm getting kind of a little like sticky fond on the bottom of the pan. I'm going to add my water. Okay, that'll help the noise level too. Okay. So in goes the water. Now, what I'm doing after I add my liquid, and this I would do this with any soup I'm making, is I'm deglazing the pan. So the adding of the water is going to help release the bits of the little brown bits from the pan, which is called fond, F-O-N-D. So I want to get that scraped up. When I was sauteing the garlic and ginger, and then with the mushrooms, things started to stick to the pan. So I want to get that off the bottom of the pan. You'll notice the spoon I'm using has kind of a flat edge to it, so that's going to help me scrape that off. If you're just using a rounded spoon, it'll happen, but it'll take a little longer. So, okay. I'm now going to turn my heat up too, because I want this to heat up quickly. All right, so that's in. So the next thing we're going to add is our miso and water mixture. So I'm just going to give it one more little whisk. Pour that in. Now you can probably see it if I turn it this way, maybe. Okay. All of that. This recipe, as it's written, only serves about it makes like 2 to 3 generous servings. It's very easily doubled. We were noticing that a lot of people that are watching these cooking demonstrations are cooking for like 2 people, 4 people, not a huge amount of people. So this is, I thought, I'm going to put a recipe in that's, that's good for just like a couple people. It's a really quick, easy lunch recipe. But it could easily be doubled, tripled, whatever you want to do. Okay, so the miso is in. The next thing we're going to add is the soy sauce mixture with the sesame oil and the vinegar. All right, that's in. And now I'm going to let it simmer. So I want this to, all of my flavorful aromatics and spices and other, you know, kind of the base, the flavor base of the soup is all in there. So now I want to simmer it and kind of let it go for a few minutes. And then we will add, at the end, we will add our peas, or both of our kinds of peas. And then I had another thought on what to add, which is edamame. So if you want to boost the protein of this soup a little bit, I'm going to throw in like probably about a half a cup of edamame. This wasn't included in the recipe. These are pre-shelled, frozen. You can get them at the store. You could also use the pods and just take them out of the pods. So I'm going to put those into the soup too. So it's just another addition. The other thing I wanted to kind of talk about is if you wanted to double this soup and then add kind of some other ingredients that might work well, what you would want to do is basically double everything that we've done so far. So you could double the garlic, the ginger, the peppers. It's up to you if you want to double the mushrooms, but you know, the water, we would put in 6 cups of water, double the miso and the soy and the vinegar and all of that. And then after that, it's kind of up to you to add whatever you want. You know, I was thinking bok choy would be a good addition to this soup. You know, if there's another green out there, like any Asian greens, like tatsoi, that would be a good thing to add. So, you know, it's a pretty flexible recipe. You know, you can experiment with different kinds of mushrooms and, you know, just put in whatever you would want. So, so these are just kind of it's a starting point, right? And you can really be creative with this kind of a soup. So, all right, I'm starting to simmer right now. I see bubbles happening. I don't really need this to come to a rolling boil. I just want it to start to simmer, which it's doing right now, and we'll let it go a little bit. Okay. Allison, it might be a good time for any questions if there are questions. If not, I'll carry on with you know, some more information about the peas, and then we can come back. So I don't know. I see things are in the chat box, but I don't know if those are questions.
It might be a good time for a reminder that if you have a question, feel free to use that little raise hand so we can unmute you to ask a question. And if you have questions, you know, you are also welcome to put them in the chat box. But then, Steph, if you want to continue, I'll let you know if we have any questions for the end.
Okay, great. Sounds good. So back to the peas. The snap peas that we're using, where you eat the whole thing, these are surprisingly very high in vitamin C. And the vitamin C part is actually in the outer pod. So they're a great source of vitamin C, and it happens that way because you're eating the entire pod. You know, I was kind of surprised. They also have a decent amount of iron in them. And they're also a good source of vitamin A and also some vitamin K. But they're really kind of a standout for vitamin C, which I was surprised to learn, because yeah, I wouldn't think that a snap pea would be a great source of vitamin C. Then the other thing is, you know, the shelling peas over here, you know, they are called peas, but really the inner parts are really a legume. So you want to think of these as, you know, a protein source, like you would think of a dried bean, like a chickpea or a cannellini bean or whatever. So again, you know, a great source of protein to add to your soup. And then we're also adding in some edamame today, so that'll help, you know, boost the protein as well. They're also a good source of vitamin A, K, and several of the B vitamins, including folate, you'll get from these little shelling peas, the legumes in the shelling peas. All right, let's see what's right. Okay, we're back. Keep moving here. So this has been simmering, not for the full 10 minutes, but it smells really good. So I'm going to go ahead and add the peas that we have. I'm going to put this edamame in first because this was frozen. So I'm going to let that go in first and cook so it can thaw and do its thing. And then in about a minute, we'll add in our peas. So one thing to keep in mind about this soup is that it's going to look really pretty when we eat it right now. It's not going to look pretty tomorrow because the acid from the vinegar and the miso is going to turn the green vegetables kind of that ugly pea green. This is just a natural phenomenon that happens, and there's not much we can do about it. Anytime you add an acid to a green vegetable, it will start to turn it that weird 1970s, you know, pea green color. So just something to keep in mind. If you're doing this for like a dinner party or something and you want to make it in advance, you could easily get it up to this point, maybe without the edamame in there. You can thaw your edamame and have it ready to go. But you can make the soup to this point with the mushrooms and the broth, and then refrigerate it and keep it overnight. And then before you serve it, you could reheat this, put in your peas, and then serve immediately. So then you can kind of help maintain that nice green, bright green color of the vegetables. Okay. So while we're waiting for that, I'm just going to crack my egg. I'm going to add an egg at the very end for this soup, and that's going to thicken it. Some hot and sour soups use cornstarch. This particular recipe has an egg, which I kind of like better, and it helps to make it more of a meal, really. So I'm just going to step over here. Okay, and I'm going to drizzle this in at the very end, kind of like making ribbons. So I'm going to scramble it and whisk it first and have it ready to go. Okay, so this is bubbling away in here. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Okay, so next are my shelling peas. And because these are fresh, they're not going to take the same amount of time as like your frozen peas would. They're going to be pretty quick. I will also add my snap peas at this time. Okay. Let that go. We're going to give that a couple minutes, and then I'm just going to drizzle in my egg while I'm stirring so that you don't have like a glob of egg. You want to kind of have ribbons of egg in your soup. And I think that'll be it. Let me just make sure I got everything in there. Yep, this is this. Okay, yep, I think that's it. All right, so let's give this another couple of minutes. Okay, it looks good. I'm going to grab my serving bowl. So I'm going to try bringing the soup over and tilting the laptop down so you can actually see the finished soup here in a minute. So, okay. All right. Get my heat back up a little bit. The peas cooled it down, so I'm just waiting for this to re-simmer, waiting to see little bubbles. And then I'll mix in the egg. Okay, here it goes. Okay, so I'm just gonna, I can't really do this, I was gonna try to do it this way, but I can't really see what's going on. So I'm gonna do it this way and you'll just see the egg. So I'm just gonna stir and do like a little thin stream as I'm stirring. And I'm adding it really gradually. There we go. And of course, it cooks almost immediately because the broth is so hot. Okay. And if you wanted to garnish this with a little extra pepper flakes on top, that is also a good option. But it's up to you. This will have some heat to it. I think it's all the way, looks like it's in there. Okay. Yep. All right, I'm going to ladle up some in my bowl, and I will do a little show and tell. So this is a little hardier than your typical hot and sour soup because I added that extra edamame and all the other good stuff. I am going to put a little bit of the, I'm going to do a little sprinkle, just a little bit on top. Okay, let's see here. There it is.